Good morning, Nigeria. I make you welcome. This is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television from our corporate headquarters in Lagos State, Nigeria. I am Henry Igwebike, and today we'll be kicking off with our newspapers just to see what we have right there. Interesting stories, you would agree with me, and right after that will be our main conversation also for today. But please do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can find us, reach us when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I'm very so honored, very so lucky at the same time to have with me right here in the studios a gentleman of the press. We have two distinguished media personnels with me, and which means our discussions and conversations today would be really great. And Emeka Madunago, journalist, public affairs analyst, Ubong Thompson, a journalist, public affairs analyst. Thank you so very much, gentlemen, for being here.
Thank you very much.
It's really true. Appreciate you both. So let's kickstart with the newspapers, and just to see what we have on the first daily on our desk is the Guardian newspaper for today. Big story: 54 taxes charges account for 35% of airfare cost, stifle traffic demand. And we have on the bottom strip Human Rights Day 2025 concerns as Nigeria's worsening right crisis prompt calls for reforms. And we have beneath that particular story, Obasanjo tasked leaders on stronger institutions for national development. Federal government arraigns Stella Udwa orders on alleged 2.4 billion naira of fraud. We have optimism as federal government anticipates Nigeria's exit from CPC list. Is this another form of propaganda? But of course, we'll be doing more of that discussion equally. We have other stories. Federal government sets up panel on 4 trillion outstanding old contractors. Tinubu reaffirms police withdrawal from VIPs mobilizing security and livestock reform. I'd love us to start with the issue of Tinubu reaffirming police withdrawals from VIPs. I'd love to start with you, Ubong Thompson, on this particular story. And I would love you to connect that dot to the issue raised by Professor Wole Soyinka regarding Seyi Tinubu and league of security personnel attached to him, and which is contradicting what the president is putting across in Nigeria.
Well, I think the step taken by President Tinubu has to be commended in the fact that there has been rising and, the persistent insecurity situation in the country. And many quarters have raised alarm and made complaints and have really, yelled at the president and the presidency. And probably out of that, the president has been able to listen to the public outcry and decide to come up with that initiative. So the withdrawal of police orderly from politicians and high network individual, I think is very, very commendable, and that should be done across board. It shouldn't be selective. And what Professor Wole Soyinka has, pointed out, I think is what the Inspector General of Police has to take it very, very important and make sure that when it comes to the, people of particular interest, in the case of the son of the president, Seyi Tinubu, is not, his life is not more important than the life of any other Nigerians. So other Nigerians also need and require the protections of the Nigerian state. So whatsoever is given to the president's son, the other Nigerians also deserve the same. Is their fundamental right, and they are privileged to all these benefits. So withdrawal of those excessive, the police presence or too much of this thing, is not needed in this present time that we are, considering the insecurity in the land. So those orderly or the police escort or the escort that goes with the president's son has to be limited, or if not outrightly withdrawn.
All right, so beautiful. But I think we have that as our talking point for the main conversation. But Emeka, I'd love you to maybe say your little bit of it, just because we have it for our main conversation, such that at the time we might actually fleshing that out.
Yeah, that the president had to get involved in such a trivial matter shows the level of indiscipline. Gross indiscipline in the security system. The president has spoken about this matter once. The Inspector General of Police issued a directive quoting from the president. Why should it be an issue? Why should the president have to come back to reiterate it? Why? Because there are people in the security services who would do anything to be escorts to VIPs. Because they are making money from it. They are paid well. If you remember, a former Inspector General of Police said the police was making 120 billion naira yearly at that time from providing escort services. And people were saying that, look, since it's so lucrative, don't forget that even state governments that have their special squads, that they also pay a special allowance to the policemen drafted to them. At the time, it was 40,000 per policeman. So when you have all the 36 states having one squad or the other with policemen, I don't know, I think maybe the FCT has their own. So, at 40,000 each, that's a lot of money. Why not create a special squad or a special protection unit? Let VIPs apply to them. It's not by going to take the civil defense. Civil defense were created specifically to protect pipelines, to protect critical national, critical public infrastructure, not to serve as security guards to VIPs. So arising from that, I think we should still go back to the point that, okay, you have spy police, supernumerary police. Why not train those, since they have some form of training in, policing? Why not train them? Make them a special squad, outside of the police. So we did that. You can employ up to 100,000. Jobs are scarce. So you can employ up to 100,000 Nigerians and deploy this supernumerary police, to them. Maybe they could even be attached to the police, but specific for, or for specific duties. And then, of course, the police keeps complaining about underfunding and all that. That could be another avenue for the police, to get funding for their operations.
All right, beautiful. So let's get to another story. 54 taxes charges account for 35% of airfare cost. Obong Thompson, we were speaking to the issue of difficulty on finding a flight tickets to different parts of the country. Even when you get any, it's quite expensive. And now they are saying that about 54 taxes that is being labeled against them, which is the reasons why we have high cost of airfare tickets. So what's your take on this? Do you think this is good? Do you think this is bad? Are we making much more money? And are we trying to shoot ourselves?
Yeah, I think that has formed one of the issues, the evil that is bedeviling the Nigerian entity, because you see issue of multiple taxation across board is not only limited to the area of aviation sector. It's known, is a known predicament that has been a challenge to Nigerian nation all over every sector that we find ourselves. So the management of the aviation sectors are supposed to understand the implication of these multiple taxations. And I know quite well the government might be benefiting from this, but we truly want to know if at all the taxations are being remitted to the federal government, because you see a lot of agencies, shortchanging the federal government, because if that is done, the main purpose of this taxation were meant for development of the aviation sector. But you still find out that the federal government will still vote in money you know, to carry out repairs and build infrastructures in most of these airports that we have across Nigeria. So where has the money gone to, and why should the people that are being taxed be not getting the benefit of this multiple taxation, and they have to pay high fare to fly across Nigeria, which I totally disagree, or is totally unacceptable in a time that Nigerians are supposed to have a reunion with their families in their localities. You find out that most people would not be able to make a trip outside their jurisdiction.
And equally can't do it through road because it's not safe.
It's not safe. Yeah. And so this poses a serious challenge because the fare has skyrocketed as we speak. The fare has skyrocketed and at wars, flights are not even available. So it becomes a problem. So issues like this, I think the government and the Minister of Aviation should always look inward and see how to foretold all these occurrences before maybe festive season, so that Nigerians can travel with ease and with lower rates of flight ticketing.
Yeah, very true. Emeka, I know the federal government had announced this, or the agencies required to do all of this had announced that come the festive season, Nigerians should expect high cost of air, fare. But do you think this is too much? And equally, my second question is related to what Obong said, that lots of agencies shortchange the government. I was watching a viral video of Kotoka International Airport in Ghana, and the young man juxtaposed the Kotoka International Airport and our MM1 here. Our MM1 here was looking like Ojuelegba bus stop as compared to Kotoka. Where do you think all of the money is going to, despite all of the investments that have gone through?
Yeah, thank you. I'll answer your question this way. The first question. Somebody tweeted that when you have a problem, pray that big men in Nigeria will also have the same problem. Because that's how a quick solution will come to the problem. Say just pray, oh God, let there be some big men who have the same problem. Because there will be a quick solution. What am I talking about? We've heard about taxes, but the fact that there are up to 54 taxes is because big men, senators, reps, and all those party leaders and all that, they cannot fly with their retinue of wives and children, hangers on, and security, because it's going to cost them like 5 million, 10 million. Now they are shouting, that this money is too much. So for those of us, we the people, who have been having this problem, now the same problem affecting us and affecting the ordinary Nigeria, affecting us, we the people of Nigeria, and affecting the big men. Now they can say, okay, that, now they can say that, okay, we have the same challenge. So, let us now look into it. That's why you see the big men are now shouting, that is high, okay. I think they didn't know.
Shouting because
no, they are not shouting because it's affecting we the people, no. They are shouting now because
it's affecting.
They're now in conference. All of us have found ourselves in the same problem. The same mosquito is now biting all of us. And then we are now realizing, no. We must get an insecticide that can kill mosquitoes, eradicate them. Now we are talking about 54 taxes. That's as simple as it goes. As if they don't know that these problems are there. But because it has not got to this ridiculous point of return tickets, 730, 750,000. For one man, even if the senator, 750 plus his wife or wives. If it's one wife, that's 1.5 million for him. That's 1.5 million for him and his wife. Then by the time you add children, the man will say, waiting now. I didn't come to this Abuja just to betray money. So now, the point is this. It was foretold.
Yes.
And members of the National Assembly, they ought to have known that this problem was reigning. Because the media has been talking about this thing consistently. Travelers have been talking about these things consistently. They knew that the floating of the naira by President Tinubu would have an adverse effect, because in the aviation industry, their services, their operations are denominated in dollars. Yeah. That's one sector. You cannot say you just bring one currency, bring naira. No.
And airplane lease actually is
there are so many things in the aviation industry, and they are denominated primarily in dollars. So that is one side. To the second side, you see, there's a big problem about revenue collection in Nigeria. Agencies, you hear the customs will say they've made so many billions, trillions, and all of that, trillions, but what about the cost of collection? I keep asking that question. When you are telling us you have declared maybe 1 trillion profit, or 1 trillion because they don't make profit, that you have collected 1 trillion, please, side by side, add the cost of collection, add bank charges, add other things, so that at the end of the day, we will know whether...
The cost of collection, because you raised the issue of the customs, for example. Would the cost of collection equally include their salaries? Would that be added? Should that be added to the cost of collection?
Salaries. There are different things that are involved in because of collection.
Because the reason why I've asked this is because so many times I've seen the Controller General, come to say that they've made so much money and therefore their personnel should be remunerated well, should be paid well.
It's not just productivity. They have allowances.
Yeah.
They also have, hazard allowance. Because it's not easy now. When you want to go after smugglers, it's not people with sticks that you're going after. You're going after people who are even maybe better armed than yourself. Even when you go out to collect taxes from companies, you know how it is. Even, it's not, nobody is going to welcome you. Nobody in this world wants to pay tax. There is no president in this world. Look at Trump now, the fight he had before he became president about his taxes. Yeah. I think it was the one who said at the time that his secretary was paying more tax than himself. So nobody wants to pay taxes. So the cost of collection, bank charges, the cost of going out, all those things, your operations, your movement, all those things. When you check that cost, then sometimes you may also need to hire some agencies, the services of some agencies as maybe backup. You may need to call the military, So all of these things involve money. The interesting thing is this idea that government works for free is one thing that should be disabused. Because people ought to know that before a police van leaves the police station, there's a cost to it.
Yeah, they should.
When you call a police station, you make a distress call. Whatever they are going to do, there is a cost to it. That is why we must encourage payment of taxes. And that is why we must use tax revenue for the public good.
But I love you to unite it to the issue of the comparison between Kotoka
National. I was going to dive into it. No, you see, let me tell you, sadly, our misgovernance and carelessness over the years gradually made Ghana to overtake us in many things. Look at Ghana today. It's the headquarters of this African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And that gives them first mover advantage in many things. There are some other areas too. Ghana has been trying to make itself a hub, make that Kotoka International Airport a hub, a regional hub. But in Nigeria, our own has just been talk. Now we're devoting 712 billion to reconstruct Muritala Mohammed Airport. Whereas the budget of Abia State for 2026 is 750 billion. So we are going to use the budget of the whole state for just one airport.
And despite there's no Wi-Fi, there's never been Wi-Fi anywhere close to our international airport. It's actually very crazy.
Comrade Dupont was talking about that the roads are not safe. Where are the roads? Are there roads? I travel regularly. Where are the roads? Sometimes when I was traveling to Calabar in January this year, we spent 6 hours at Odupani. All the way we were topsy-turvy here, and we sat down there. Something that we left away around 9 a.m. We sat down there. And road was under construction. So what we are saying is this: if government should prioritize government's business as business, because I don't agree with the idea that government has no business in business. Because if you collect taxes, if you collect revenue from people, even if it's a levy, you go to a market and you tell a market woman, you pay 100 naira per day, that is business. So we should not look at it as if the business of government is just to come make policies and go away. No, government can also make money. Government should also make money to run its services.
Very well.
The private sector is also doing its own. Let it be doing its own, but government should be responsible enough to run its services in such a way that it can fund its services.
Very
so
well.
in the issue of aviation, you see, I don't agree that we have too many airports. The only problem is about poor thinking. That is it.
All right.
Because so many airports, for instance, you go to Jigawa State, I went to the airport in 2014. You know, beautiful terminal. But sadly, no approach roads.
No traffic.
They said the last time an aircraft landed was one Nigerian billionaire who came to see the governor.
Political settlements
all of these
of
things,
ministers.
they can, if the governors can think, if the government, because I don't think the federal government should be funding airports, if you ask me. If the state governments can think, if you know you cannot concession these airports, look at, just give me 2 seconds, look at Uyo Airport, Victor Atta International Airport. The other day, the Minister of Aviation, Professor Skamo, announced that Uyo Airport had been upgraded to international status. Why? Because successive governments in Uyo, you know, had this idea that let us make Uyo an attractive destination. Let us build business. And today, you have Boa Refinery, you have Seplat, you have, you know, different, somebody, I read this one where somebody was just listing.
And they have their own carrier, which is...
Yes, so what you need to do, build business around the business of governance. So whatever is aviation, whatever, you'll be able to meet it. But that 54 taxes, I'll just urge the National Assembly to quickly do something about it. If not, the sector, you are killing the sector incrementally. Reduce that, the taxes should not be more than 3, at the most 5. Why are you charging 54 taxes? Yes. How much do you even think the airlines make?
Well, let's see how that goes, Joe. And we learned that Ekiti State had budgeted about 49 billion to construct its cargo airport. I wonder who would want to fly there, or which container would love to go to Ekiti. And this
Ekiti has an airport.
These are some, because they have it here. Ekiti spent 49.7 billion to build cargo airport, says Oyebanji. But let's get to the Punch newspaper for a bit, and we talk about the crisis with the PDP chaos. Wike Makinde forces revive war over INEC's nod. We have other growing issues also. Federal government opens diplomatic talks with Burkina Faso over detained aircraft soldiers. And also we have other growing matters. Federal government pushes for 17.8 trillion naira new loans to finance 2026 budget. I'd love to go to you, Obong Thompson, at this point, and that's regarding the PDP crisis. Of course, right now we have 2 factions right now, the Makinde faction and the Wike faction. But what's your take on the governors who had left the PDP before now? Omoeno is a classic point. Oborowori is one of them. So do you think that they were smarter than every other person?
Well, you can say that again and again, because you know, these people, they sit down to study and read politics as if it is they are, you know, actually having academic courses in the university. Or so the mother, like Pastor Moino, must have seen the handwriting on the wall, and probably that informed him to have taken the earlier step to, you know, relieve himself of the membership of the party. And you see what happened in Wadada Plaza. One would have imagined that if probably Moino was still in PDP, he would have been among those governors that were tear gas, you know. And funny enough, Moino is an elderly person, and one would not expect him to be able to contend with the situation in Wadada Plaza as it's happening on that day. So Oborowori, and so they saw the handwriting, and I've said it in different fora that you know, the situation in PDP is man-made. You know, it's not an issue that can be resolved so soon, because there's a calculated attempt, by the ruling party, APC, to make sure that PDP does not, come together or think rationally, and that is what we are seeing playing out.
But do you think the defection has affected those who have defected? Before now, Moeno was a very wonderful guy. Every week he was doing something. People could see it when he was with the PDP. Now he has gone to the APC. We don't see anything he's doing any longer. All we see him doing is going against people who have not defected to him. Most recently, we had him say everyone who is not with the APC would not get contracts and other things. So don't you think that joining the APC itself is an issue for the state and for himself as a politician?
I think it hasn't been, it is not as postulated by many people in the media or by what you just opine to. Yeah. The state has been running, to the best of my knowledge. Things are, projects are ongoing. There are some projects that takes, short time to, be commissioned. Some are longer term projects. And I know there are some, road construction ongoing. There's, healthcare centers still ongoing. There's construction of estates, across the state is still ongoing. And so many other things are still, the farmers initiated by the state government, they are all ongoing as we speak. And there is no truth in saying that, projects have been put to a stall. No government can even stand at the stall in any time. Government is continuing. Things must keep happening. Projects are still, under construction. The only thing you will say is that, okay, projects are not being commissioned as it used to be. But to say that, contractors are not on site, that wouldn't be truthful.
But do you think if we do a vox pop now and we do an investigative work, go down to the streets of Uyo, Abak, Ikodebene, and so many other places in Akwa Ibom, do you think the people are excited with the personality, not the personality now, with the governance style of Omoeno as it stands today?
Yeah, I think many people, aside, because if you talk about the youth empowerment drive in this administration, I think Omoeno has done perfectly well after digitalizing the employment of the youth, making sure that all youth have been the database of all the youth, unemployed youth or unemployed youth,
yes, captured,
in a digital manner, in such that even those that are unable to get a job instantly are being remunerated with at least a token every month as a social welfare. And then those that have been, selected for interviews through the platform have been selected for employment. About 2,000 or 3,000 some weeks back have been, penciled down for next level of interview, to be absorbed into the state civil service. So there a lot of things are happening. There's IBOM-led, program that is ongoing, training about 1,500 youth in the state. Then there is also a state government, empowerment program that has also penciled down about 15,000 youth, into employment market in different way. Then the small and business scale, small and medium businesses are being empowered with the clippers or dryers, generators, and various equipment for them to be able to augment their businesses. So these are ongoing on the streets of Akwa Ibom State in different, and then the government also has a social contract with the people of Akwa Ibom State, because as at 3, 4, 5 months ago, the state governor moved from one constituency to another, and then making collection of what the people's needs. They call it the different local government comes together and presents a document of what they need in their locality, and that is what the state government is using as a blueprint to make sure that it delivers services to all the local government. At least one project have been cited as we speak in every local government, at the same time. So a lot of things are ongoing, and then the construction of the Ibom resort is also ongoing, and is a lot of youth are being employed either as contractors or manual workers or skilled in various things. Things are happening.
All right. So while we, dialogue about some of these things, so lots of people might agree, might not agree with you. But Emeka, I would love you to remove emotions from what your answers might look like. As someone who is a spectator, looking at some of these things, especially with governance in Nigeria, governance in the South region, and equally the Southeast region, if you might equally go to that route also. Do you think all of these things, these little things that our governors do, is worthy enough to get congratulations for, knowing what other nations are doing?
I'll speak like a businessman.
Okay.
Because everywhere I go to, apart from being a journalist, I also look out for business opportunities. Our governors, this set of governors, are really disappointing because they have more money. And so the focus should not be on President Bola Tinubu. I'm not a supporter of Tinubu. Let people not misunderstand me. But what I'm saying is that if the states and the local governments are up and doing, sincerely speaking, between them, the 36 states, FCT, and the 704 local governments, they can bring down poverty by at least 50%. Because all politics is local. You don't have federal farmers. Farms are in the states and in the local governments. The Land Use Act puts the control of land in the governors. But the governors were there when we were shouting. When we were telling them that, I remember when Akeredolu, the late Akeredolu, was the governor of Ondo State, when he talked about taking control of the forests of Ondo State, and I think the federal government, an official of the federal government was saying some things about, that. And I read on a live TV program, I read out the Land Use Act that it vests power over the forest in the governor, that the federal government has no control over the forest. So they were not having problems. The federal government were having problems in the forest. The federal government is now talking of setting up forest gas. But that is not his duty.
But if the state fails, don't you think
it's what I'm saying? Now you are linking up what I'm saying. Yeah. If the states were at least punching above their weight, even if they were performing up to, let's say, 50%, local governments, even if it's up to 40%, poverty, there will be a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs will be created.
So you think the autonomy of the local government hasn't done any good?
Let me tell you, a situation where in some states now you have mayor of local government. All that to me is nonsense. It's not about the name. It's about, can this vehicle be trusted to at least take people safely to the destination? That is what matters. But you just take party cronies, you take people who cannot even run a kiosk, and you tell them to go and run a local government. You go to a local government secretariat, it's so bushy, it's so dirty, so unkempt. How do these people think of making money? Because like they say, cleanliness is next to godliness. A local government chairman that can think of keeping the secretariat clean and running efficiently will be able to generate outside of federal, because they went to the Supreme Court some time ago. I mean, in July, they got a ruling that local government funds should be given to local government. And I just laugh. I said it's because we don't have thinking people in the local government system. The local governments have enough that can generate more than 50 taxes that can generate funds for them without even touching federal allocation. I mean, when I look around, I travel around, I say, look at what is all this. Then my brother was talking about empowerment and all that. I agree, but the question I keep asking is this. When you empower people, you train people in skills. Every governor is
yeah, they do that a lot.
Who is going to employ these people? Because a lot of you people may have skills. They may know how to couple a computer and all that. But they may not know how to register a company. You don't teach them how to register. You don't even have them to register a company. They don't know about budgeting. They don't know about accounting. They don't know about taxation. And you just train them in skills. So you see many of them, in some states, there was one state where a former governor gave out tricycles, gave out all different things. People just sold all those things. They even gave out taxes. They went to other states, sold all those things, and said it was their share of the national cake. So it is not just empowerment. What you need to do, beyond training, incubate them in setting up businesses. Like in my state, Anambra, I was asking the government, I said, you have trained, you said 2 skills or something. Yes. But how are they solving the problems of the state? I began to read, I said, security. And if you train people in AI, if you train people in ICT and all that, at least by now, we ought to have seen at least 1 or 2 who set up an app that can provide real-time security solutions for the state. I've not heard of any. Traffic control, waste disposal, so many things.
But my question is this: is that what we should be concerned about? Like I made a reference to Akwa Ibom State, for example. They boast the highest amount of palm fruits, for example. If they should invest in that cassava, they should, lead in that sphere too. Why is the governor of that place not concerned about that particular sector and making something out of it, such that tomorrow they will say Akwa Ibom State is the state in Nigeria that has the highest amount of cassava production per tons in the world?
Okay, let me play the devil.
Why are they not going into that, but rather they go into little fries that do not?
Let me play the devil's advocate. You see, a president or a governor, local government chairman, is just the head of a system, of a setup. So we can't expect him to know everything. That is why when you are choosing your cabinet, you should choose people who can, help you in different areas, people with ideas. Let me tell you, do you know there are more and more people now? I know a lady who is making cookies with cassava.
Yeah.
And it's growing.
Yeah.
Export. I'm into merchandising. I'm also into export. And I know that if you meet the specifications of NAFDAC and Standards Organization of Nigeria, there is no part of this world you cannot export cassava cookies to.
Yes.
Because cassava is a superfood.
Yes, because we're actually speaking about, they call her African brand chic or something.
Yeah, she's into even the business that brought her, even the business, the brand chic, the Nigerian brand chic that brought her to prominence, she's setting it aside for 2026 and going into production. What I'm saying is that, yes, I can't totally fault the governor of Akwa Ibom State, right? He may not have so much understanding of the agricultural sector. So expecting him to revolutionize it, the people around him, what are they doing? He has a commissioner for agriculture. What are they doing? It's not just him. What about in Imo State, where you have other palm that was set up by Michael Okpara? What about in other states? What about in Anambra, where you have Obunike caves? I went to Ikogosi one spring the other day in Ekiti State, and I saw what the former governor, Fayemi, did in his first step. When Fayoshe took over, he abandoned Ikogosi. But when Fayemi came back, he revived Ikogosi. And let me tell you one interesting thing. He got Adekiti indigene, based abroad, I think, Botswana, to come and revive Ikogosi one spring. Do you know, as I speak, you can't get a room. They have just about 50 or 60 rooms. You can't get a room. One of my friends wanted to book for Christmas to come with his wife and children. They said no, maybe till January ending.
You see, that's what we're talking about, because I raised this issue. So why do you think governors like yours and many other persons are not thinking in that light and saying, this is the cash crop or raw materials we have, let's expand it beyond, such that our state can be known for this, rather than all this petty investment that won't go anywhere?
I think the media is not reporting the true picture of what is happening in the agricultural sector of Akwa Ibom State. Because, I will speak the way it is. I don't need to mince words. The effort of the governor is quite commendable in the area of agriculture. And Akwa Ibom State, even without, before Umaina, have been trying its very, very best. Having an integrated farmer scheme that train young school leavers or young farmers for about 3 months or 6 months, and thereafter empowering them, in setting up farms, with almost a grant of 500 to 1 million. And so the question should be, what are those beneficiaries? What have they been able to do with those grants?
By themselves. By themselves. Now that is the question. By them, because you are talking governor. Yeah. What about the beneficiaries?
But if the beneficiaries are not trained enough to manage those funds, how do you think they can even manage the funds?
The governor will not go with them to their homes now to train them.
You know, like what we are talking now, Umoino has come up with, the oil palm initiative. You know, he has revived the Akwa Ibom Palms Limited, where there is going to be a major concentration on oil palm production, and the governor has done enough to acquire necessary equipment for that purpose, and then there's also some acres of land allocated for that purpose, and that has been taken off already, and is ongoing. But it needs, media, to spotlight all these activities that is going, that the governor is doing his own best. But, the governor cannot do it all alone, just like Mr.
Yeah, which is true.
We need merchandisers in agricultural sectors.
Thank you.
We need,
producers.
Producers.
Yes.
If we have like 5-10 mega producers of agricultural produce in the state, my brother, all what we are talking about will be very, very easy to achieve. But what governor will now need to do is to empower this set of individuals, this set of farms, will employ the citizens in numbers across board. So this has to be, the way the government has to be run. But to say that the government is not investing in agriculture, we might not be telling ourselves the truth.
All right, because it's very important that we talk about, some of these things. The same thing, the same, query we have with Akwa Ibom particularly is the same we have with Delta, the same we have with Edo, the same we have with Bayelsa.
No, but
same we have around.
Let me add something. Lagos is doing something different.
What exactly are they doing?
Lagos is doing produce for Lagos.
Okay, produce for Lagos.
For Lagos, yes. So what is happening is that Lagos has built a hub, an agricultural hub, an agro-processing hub. So if you can go into, you can write the Lagos state government to say, okay, I'll be producing this quantity of whatever, primarily for the Lagos agro-processing hub. Then they will give you the terms and conditions, and when you fulfill it, you do that. That's what I think, for instance, like the governor of Akwa Ibom State, he should not just stop at producing. The sad thing is that for many years, more than 20, 30 years, we have sadly de-emphasized manufacturing. If you look at the GDP of Nigeria, manufacturing occupies between 10 and 15% of our GDP, and which is sad. And also, no power. Power supply is a major problem. Cost of importation of material. How many of these inputs are we producing locally? So there are a lot of people, and there are multiple taxation. A lot of people, I was into industrialization, but I later stopped because the harassment from local governments and all kinds of government officials, state government and all that was too much. And then no power, roads are bad. So when you add all of these things together, that is why you see those beneficiaries may also be hampered. Because yes, they may want to be producing. But for you to meet, for instance, NAFDAC, I know what it took me to meet NAFDAC. Even at that, one of my products couldn't meet NAFDAC specification, even with all the money we spent. So, unless maybe you have unlimited funds, permit me to use that one, like Dangote, you have source of funding, you can get money from abroad or from Nigerian banks or wherever, But if not, you need a lion heart to produce in Nigeria. And perhaps, playing devil's advocate again, if you permit me, these governors may not want to dive into that the murky waters, because they will say, if we commit the state's funds, for instance, if we put the state's money into maybe bond, 2-year bond, or treasury bills, at least we'll make money, which we can add to the IGR.
Yeah.
We'll run away. But if, for instance, one young man says he can make cookies, and that young man says he can process palm oil and can do this, By the time we go through NAFDAC and SON, the sweating alone, what if at the end of the day we don't get certification? What happens? So that's what I just think. So what I think is that overall, the National Assembly has to do more than they have to do more. The National Assembly members should do more than building schools, building houses. Make laws that will make business easier. We've talked about the aviation sector, 54 taxes for what? Go to the manufacturing sector. Dangote the other day was saying that we are working for government. That for every 100 naira he earns is about 52 naira or so that goes to the government. Why should it be like that? How will the man be able to employ somebody like Dangote? Should be talking of employing 2 million Nigerians because labor in Nigeria is one of the cheapest in the world. Well, so Dangote should be employing like 1 million, 2 million Nigerians. But go and ask him.
All right, Dangote said that Nigeria is like a scratch card. It's only when you scratch it that you can see what is in it. And for him and many others, they have scratched it and they've seen what is in it. We just hope that the rest of Nigeria would equally get the scratch card, scratch and see what is in it, and possibly we can justify.
Small scratch and the whole thing disappeared. The DG disappeared.
All right, people, both gentlemen will be here to take us on our main conversation in a bit. That is when we return. Senator kicks as Tinubu enforces police orderly withdrawal. That in a bit. It's still Enterprise Morning. Please don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.